Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and decode the hidden principles that make some projects succeed while others, well, while they descend into total chaos. Let's get right into it.
Oh man, we've all been there, right? You know that sinking feeling in your gut when the deadlines are flying past, the team is completely burning out, and the product that finally gets shoved out the door? Well, let's be real. It wasn't ready for release, was it? Yeah, you know exactly the project I'm talking about.
So where does it all fall apart? It's usually not because people aren't working hard enough. The real culprit is often hiding in plain sight.
And this just nails it. The root cause is almost always this. It's shocking how easy it is for a brilliant team to build an incredible piece of software that solves the completely wrong problem. What happens is, teams start working in their own little bubbles. Information isn't shared openly, and pretty soon you've got a total breakdown in communication. Nobody's on the same page about what's being built or, even more importantly, why.
Okay, so this brings us to the first huge myth we need to bust. And it's one that's deeply baked into how a lot of companies think management should work.
I mean, it sounds logical, doesn't it? A clear chain of command, one person making the tough calls, keeping everything moving forward. It feels efficient. But here's the twist. That top-down command and control approach can be the very thing that sinks your project.
The truth is, the projects that really succeed are built on 5 key principles. First, everybody has access to the same information, so decisions are made out in the open. Second, you actually trust the experts you hired to do their jobs. Third, quality isn't something you check for at the end, it's baked in from the very beginning. Fourth, you get rid of that artificial hierarchy. And finally, and this one's huge, you understand that good engineering practices aren't a detour, they're the fastest way to the finish line.
This quote just captures the idea perfectly. Transparency really is the foundation of everything. It means everyone, from the stakeholders footing the bill to the engineers writing the code, agrees on what's being built and why before the heavy lifting starts. The whole team has to be in the loop, no exceptions.
So this leads us straight into the next common trap. And it's a sneaky one that even the best teams can fall into when the pressure is on.
You know the drill. The deadline is breathing down your neck. The client is getting nervous, and the temptation is just overwhelming. Let's just skip all this boring planning stuff and start coding. We got to show some progress, right? Let's get to the real work.
But that urgency, it just creates panic, and it makes us gloss over the single most important part, figuring out what our stakeholders and users actually need. Seriously, you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, so why on earth would you try to build software without a clear plan?
So what does this blueprint look like in our world? It's something called a vision and scope document. And look, this isn't just bureaucratic paperwork, it's your foundation. It clearly defines the problem, who you're solving it for, and it gives a really compelling vision. It lists the features, sure, but just as important, it forces the team to think about risks and assumptions right up front. This thing gets everyone on the exact same page before a single line of code gets written.
Okay, let's dive into one of the, let's say, contentious parts of any project. Telling people how long it's all going to take. The dreaded estimation game. This is where so much distrust can just poison the well. From a manager's point of view, it can feel like the engineering team is being cagey, just padding their numbers to get an easy ride. And from the engineer's side, it feels like management is never, ever going to give them the time they actually need to do the job right.
And what you get is this totally toxic cycle. The manager thinks, they always add extra time, so I'll just slash their estimate in half. And the engineer, knowing this is coming, thinks, well, I'd better double my real estimate just to be safe. And what's the result? You end up with a project plan based on a schedule that literally nobody believes in. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
So here's how you fix it. You stop treating estimates like you're predicting the future. You can't. The real goal is to get an honest, informed opinion from the people who will actually be doing the work. You do this by breaking the project down into small, concrete tasks, listing out all your assumptions, and then, this is key, you make the team agree on it together. It's a whole lot harder to pad an estimate when you have to look your peers in the eye and justify it. And that brings us to our final and maybe the most famous project management myth of all time. This is the one that sounds so simple, so logical, and yet it is so wrong.
We're behind schedule. The deadline is looming. The solution seems obvious, right? More hands on deck. Let's just throw more engineers at the problem and we'll finish faster. It's just simple math. Or is it?
Here's exactly why that logic completely falls apart. You have to understand the huge difference between effort and duration. Effort is the total number of person-hours it takes to do something. Duration is the actual calendar time that passes. They are not the same thing.
Adding more people to a late project actually increases the total effort because of all the overhead, all the time spent on extra communication, on training, on integrating their work. The legendary book, The Mythical Man Month, puts this better than I ever could, with this unforgettable line: 9 women cannot have a baby in 1 month. It's just a brilliant and frankly hilarious way to show that some tasks simply cannot be divided. You can't speed them up just by throwing more bodies at the problem.
And while we're on the topic, we have to talk about Parkinson's Law. This is a classic. It basically says that work will always expand to fill whatever time you give it. If you give a team 2 weeks to design a web page, guess what? It'll take 2 weeks. If you give them 4 weeks for that same exact task, it will magically expand to take 4 weeks. It's just a fundamental quirk of human nature that we have to plan for.
So, after busting all these myths, what's the real secret sauce? If it isn't some heroic leader calling all the shots, and it isn't just hiring a massive team, what is it that actually works?
You know, the biggest takeaway here is that great project management isn't about finding the perfect piece of software or some magical formula. It's fundamentally about people. It's about a disciplined, day-in, day-out commitment to open communication, solid planning, and building a culture where there's mutual respect and trust. So, as you head into your next big project, just ask yourself this: is what we're doing built on a foundation of these solid, proven principles, or are we all just kind of crossing our fingers and hoping for the best? Because that choice right there can make all the difference in the world. Thanks for tuning in.